Hello, everyone. Now we are continuing with part two, which is the term structure to payers. So let me go to, so this is the probability of default on multi-period debt instrument, and we are talking about the two periods. So the concept here, if you look at here, I think we talked about it in when we talked about one period. One period is very straightforward. We just divide the 1 plus I over 1 plus K to get the probability of payment. And if we get the probability of payment, we minus it from 1 and we can get the probability of defaulting, because the probability of payment and the probability of default is 100%. If I get the probability of defaulting or the probability of payment, I can get the other one. So in this, for example, here, for year one, I can get the probability of defaulting payment, which means 1 plus I, which is 1 plus 10% over 1 plus K, which is 15.8. I get 95%, and this is very straightforward. The problem is there is no loan. Some loans are 1 year, but usually we have, whether we are investing in loans or bonds, it takes more than 1 year, 3 years, 4 years. The problem is, in this case, if I know the probability, the value of I and K in the second year, I can calculate the second year, the third year, fourth year, and continue. But the problem is I don't know it in this time. I only know the first year. So now, assuming just hypothetically, if I have the probability of payment of 5%, because I get for year one of 90, and then the probability of payment is 95%, and the probability of defaulting for the second year is 7% according to these numbers, I can calculate the accumulation of the defaulting over 2 years or over 3 years, as long as I can get the I and K in year 1, 2, and 3. So in this case, if I know them, I can just calculate 1 minus the probability of defaulting in year 1, probability of defaulting, probability of payment in year 1, probability of payment in year 2, and I can get, because I decrease it from the 1, I can get the probability of defaulting in the over 2 years, which is very straightforward. The problem is in life, we cannot get that one, because I don't know. I don't know I2 and I don't know K2. Those ones are missed when I calculate. So I want to know, if I want to calculate the 2 years, I have to figure out how I can do that. The only way to figure it is to assume something called the arbitrage. Arbitrage, assuming that whether you are investing in short term or long term, it will be the same. So there is what you call free arbitrage, means there is knowing the information of the second year is not does not give advantage to anyone, and the information are actually available for everyone. So everyone actually knows the year 2 I and K2 in the second year. And therefore, if you know all of this, the investors have no difference to invest in short term or long term, because you have spot rate and you have forward rate. If you know the spot rate of all the market and all the investors on the spot rate and the forward rate, they can shift between them and nobody can take advantage of that. The taking advantage of the difference in the prices by some investors or informed investors make what we call arbitrage profit. But if there is free arbitrage, which means arbitrage is zero, Then in this case, if you look at K, for example, you can apply to this to I or K. Which means if you invest for 2 years, spot rate. If I give you investment for 2 years, there is no difference if you invest for 1 year and then liquidate your investment and invest in the second year. It will give you the same return. So there is no difference between investing in long term for 2 years from now or investing only if you are investors of 2 years. You have no difference if you invest for 2 years according to the spot rate, or invest for 1 year, then liquidate, then invest for the second year. This is the concept of arbitrage. And this concept, if we assume it, it can help us actually understand how to get the K2 and I2. And it is based on that, we can look at this example. If the treasury bond now for I1 for year 1 is 5%, 5.5 if I invest for 1 year spot rates, and if you invest for 2 years, spot rate is 6%. Now in this case, you can actually know what is the second year, which means according to this formula, you know now this one, which is spot for 2 years, and you know this one. So in this case, you can calculate the F1, the forward for year 1, which is, this is what we are doing here. So to calculate, I did the same equality, and I found the forward rate to be 6.96 for year 2, which is the forward rate for the risk-free. I do the same thing because if I have, this is the spot rate for year 1 for the K, for the corporate rate, and the spot rate for 2 years. Then in this case, I can calculate by the same thing, by the same approach, I can calculate the forward rate for year 2. And therefore, if I know the forward for year 2, K2 and K1, I can calculate the probability of defaulting for year 2. And if I know the probability of defaulting or payment for year 2, and I know the probability of defaulting or payment for the year 1, I can calculate the probability of defaulting or payment over 2 years. I think this example, I tried to use it here. So this is what I did. This is the same slide. So as you can see, the probability of defaulting, the probability of payment is 92% for the second year. And the probability of defaulting, of course, is the difference between this and this. So I get it to be 719. Now, if I want to calculate the probability of defaulting over 2 years, I can do this one, cumulative probability of year 1 times year 2. So for year 1, I just I take 105, which is this one, over the K. This is what I did, and I found it 94%. For K2, I already calculated here, and I found it to 92. So I put it here. And therefore, to get the cumulative, I get 1 minus the probability of defaulting for year 1 times the probability of defaulting for year 2. And I get the probability of defaulting over 2 years to be 12.16, or the probability of payment of 2 years, which is the 1 minus the 12.16, or 87.4. This is what we do for the, it's the assumption of the, it's the assumption of arbitraging, and I think I am done with part 2. Thank you very much, and this is the end of part 2, and I will see you in part 3. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.